After a decade of hearing, "You're not coming on this family trip," I treated myself to a $14,000 private villa in Santorini. Alone. 3 days later, they turned up without warning. Mom grinned. "We thought we'd surprise you. You can cover the rest." I simply replied, "Got it." Then I locked their access to our shared travel wallet and tweaked their airport pickups. That night at dinner, the waiter leaned in to tell me quietly, "Your dad froze. They canceled everything." I took a slow sip of wine and said, "I'm 33, work in project management, and for the past 10 years my vacations have basically been other people's vacations, not mine. Since I was 23, every summer my parents and my younger sister, Leia, have gone on family getaways without me. It didn't matter how much I asked, hinted, or offered to pitch in with planning. The reply was always some version of, 'It just won't work this year. We've already booked. You're busy with work anyway.' The truth? I wasn't too busy. They simply didn't want me there. The first time, they said there weren't enough rooms at the rental. The next year, Leia needed bonding time with our parents after a breakup. After that, they stopped bothering with excuses. I'd just see the photos online. Them in Santorini, sipping cocktails in Mykonos, wandering around Maui, and each time it stung. What made it worse was that in those same 10 years, I was the one bailing them out financially. A surprise shortfall on property taxes? I paid. Dad's dental implants? I chipped in. Leia's temporary return home that lasted 2 years? I covered her phone bill the whole time, so she could save for rent. I kept telling myself, family supports family. But eventually, helping blurred into constant funding. Last winter, after yet another round of "we're going without you," something in me shifted. I thought, fine. If I'm not welcome on your trips, I'll have my own. So I booked it, a luxury villa with an ocean view, infinity pool, and 2 weeks of complete freedom. No announcements, no posts, no agenda for revenge. Just peace. Or so I believed. 3 days into my perfect solitude, I returned from a morning swim to hear a voice I knew all too well. Surprise! I turned, still dripping salt water, to see all three, Mom, Dad, and Leia, hauling suitcases across the patio. Mom beamed like she'd pulled off the ultimate coup. "We thought we'd join you. Since you already have the villa, you can handle the rest." I stared at her for a long 3 seconds, processing the sheer nerve. Then I smiled. Understood. That's when my real vacation began. I hadn't become their personal ATM overnight. It crept in little by little, wrapped in just this once. At 23, I paid the change fee when Dad missed his flight. At 24, I covered Leia's rent for a month after she quit her job to find her passion. At 25, I put a new water heater on my credit card so the house wouldn't flood. They promised to pay me back by spring. Spring became a shrug. That same year, the family trips began. I saw a picture of them in Santorini, Mom in a sun hat, Leia posing by a blue door, Dad raising a glass. I commented, "Looks amazing." The reply? A thumbs up emoji. The next year, when I asked to join, Mom said, "We already booked a small place. Maybe next time." Dad added, "You're busy anyway." Leia sent a heart and an "I love you," like I was some distant cousin. Between their vacations, they still asked for financial help. I was good with money, which in their language meant I had savings and boundaries they didn't acknowledge. To control the chaos, I created a shared travel wallet for family emergencies, deposits in, expenses out, everything tracked. I set it up after Dad's dental bill spiraled. I explained the rules over a call. Clear, equal, no surprises. They loved it. When it paid for their surprises. By year 3 of the "You're Not Invited" tradition, Leia messaged, "Wallet short $600. Can you top it up? I'll Venmo Friday." Friday turned into Monday. Monday turned into "Work's been weird." I covered it to keep the balance stable. She never paid me back. I began tagging each debit with a name and a reason. The spreadsheet didn't make me feel crazy. It confirmed what I already knew. Most of the money coming in was mine. Most going out was theirs. I tried saying no. Mom cried. "We're not asking for luxuries. Just transfers and fees." Dad sighed heavily. "I hate money talk. We're family." Leia sent a voice note. You're making this transactional. I looked at the ledger where my name was the transaction. Then came Christmas. They claimed the big dinner was canceled for budget reasons. Later, I saw photos, everyone at the table except me. Leah texted. It was last minute. Don't be weird. I told myself I'd stop helping. 2 weeks later, Dad called about property taxes. My hand still reached for the card. I waited for someone to notice the pattern. They noticed the card number instead. Last year, Mom floated a grand redemption trip idea. What if we all go to Greece next summer? Family healing. I said yes, thinking maybe things were shifting. I set clear rules. Everyone books their own flights, lodging costs split evenly. Non-negotiable. They agreed too quickly. 3 months later, I spotted a wallet charge, premium transfer, Athens to Santorini, 3 tickets, not mine. Then baggage add-ons, 3 tickets. Priority seat upgrades. All on the family travel, emergency wallet. When I pushed back, Mom said, we thought lodging meant you'd cover the ground costs since you planned it. I hadn't planned a thing yet. Dad messaged, we'll sort after. Leah, stop nickel-and-diming. It's ugly. That's when I booked the villa for myself. I owed them no explanation. I wanted quiet, my own timeline, and a pool with no committee around it. I used my points for the flight, booked my transfer, and turned off wallet notifications for a month so I could breathe. They showed up uninvited, suitcases in hand, acting like this was the reunion I'd been waiting for. Mom beamed as if nothing was odd. Leah spun slowly with her phone filming. We've needed this, she said, as though I'd arranged therapy for the whole family, and sent the bill to myself. Here's what understood meant. I paused their wallet cards, the ones used for upgrades, transfers, and emergencies that weren't mine. I told the concierge I was lead guest, no authorizations without my okay. Add 2 single-night guest passes for relatives. After that, day access only. Please confirm. Next, airport transfers. In an email Mom forwarded, to show her trouble, I found their booking. I called the company and moved their return pickup to the earliest ferry day, not the late-night seaplane they'd put on my wallet. Family emergency change of plans, I told them. Truth. The emergency was my boundary. At lunch, Mom dropped her napkin and asked for a seafood feast on the house. Dad laughed, saying treat 3 times. I paid for my salad and let them order whatever they pleased. Every tap of their order was loud. That afternoon, I updated the spreadsheet, filling in the last year. Luggage fees, cabin upgrades, lounge passes, an airport hotel for fatigue. 3 clothing buys marked urgent weather. 2 spa visits labeled Leah's anxiety. My total out. $9,870. Theirs in $1,300. Notes read. We'll repay Friday. Sort after. Family. I printed it to PDF and filed it under boundaries. That evening, the waiter leaned in at dinner and whispered, they canceled everything. Dad went still. I sipped my wine, watching him register the truth. There was no endless card tonight. There was me, and there were prices. Mom blinked rapidly. What does he mean? Leah checked her phone. My card just declined. Dad cleared his throat. Did the bank block it? I said the emergency wallet is paused until we settle the last 12 months. You're on day passes here. After tomorrow it's beaches and cafes. Plenty of free sunsets. Are you serious? Leah's tone sharpened. We flew across the world. You flew across the world on a wallet labeled emergency? I said. Here's the ledger. I set my phone on the table. Lines, numbers, dates, notes. No drama, just math. Mom went to her script. You're embarrassing us. I shook my head. I've been embarrassed for 10 years. Tonight, I'm being clear. Dad tried the old wait. Don't do this to your mother. Don't do this to your daughter, I replied. They stared. The sea kept moving. The check arrived, sitting there like a test with only one correct answer. I let the silence do its job, then smiled at the waiter and paid my share. Only Mom's smile that first night in Santorini said it all. She thought she'd staged some kind of heartwarming reunion. Dad just froze. Mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. I took a measured sip of wine. That's right, I said. You're on your own now. The silence that followed was worth every cent I'd spent on the villa. Dad broke it first. We came all this way. I cut him before he could finish. No, you crashed my vacation. The one I planned, paid for, and booked for myself after a decade of being told. This trip isn't for you. My sister Leia rolled her eyes. Oh my God, are you seriously still hung up on that? It's been 10 years. I snapped. 10 years of watching you all post beach pictures while telling me it wasn't the right time for me to join. But the second I booked something for myself, suddenly it's family time. Mom tried her usual guilt tactic. We're family. We share experiences. You're being petty. I leaned back. No, I'm being finished. There's a difference. Dad's tone turned sharp. We didn't bring enough cash for everything. You know we were counting on. I laughed a real laugh and saw his face tighten. You've been counting on me since my first paycheck. Rent, bills, flights, hotels. I've paid for more family trips than I've even attended. Leia muttered about me being dramatic. I didn't let it pass. Dramatic is showing up uninvited and assuming I'll pay. Dramatic is ambushing me in another country because you think I won't say no face to face. Mom softened her voice. Honey, we just thought. Stop. I cut her off. You didn't think. You assumed. The rest of the dinner felt like it could be sliced with a knife. Every time the waiter passed, Dad asked about the booking issue, and I smiled, replying, resolved for me. Afterward, I walked back to the villa ahead of them, locked my suite, and poured another glass of wine. Outside, I heard them arguing, Dad furious, Mom defensive, Leia pushing to put it all on my card since it's easier. That night, I sent a message in the family group chat. I'm leaving the villa tomorrow morning. You can keep it for the rest of the nights, at your expense. Good luck. The typing bubbles appeared instantly. Mom, you're overreacting. Lolo, selfish much. Dad, we'll talk in the morning. I muted the chat. The next day, I checked into a smaller hotel on the other side of the island. Alone, I spent the day swimming, eating seafood, and not worrying about whether they could manage their surprise trip. By the time they called again, entitlement had turned to panic. The villa demanded full payment up front for the remaining days, their cards weren't going through, and a last-minute driver wanted triple the usual rate. I told them the same thing they'd told me for 10 years. Sorry, this trip isn't for you. Then I hung up. They didn't last 3 days without my card. Day 1, they tried bluffing the concierge. Day 2, Dad called in a fake friendly tone, saying there'd been a system mistake. Day 3, Leia sent 12 texts, screenshots of declined payments, sigh emojis, then, we're leaving early. Are you happy now? I replied once, safe travels. I stayed put, morning swims, a few work emails after lunch, phone on do not disturb. When I finally flew home, I didn't share my arrival time. I unlocked my apartment, dropped my bag, opened a window and stood still. No emergencies, no one tugging at the rope I'd worn around my neck for years. The following week was noisy anyway. Mom posting a vaguely virtuous caption about rough trips teaching grace. Leia making a reel about being let down by loved ones. Dad calling to say I'd humiliated him. I didn't respond online or defend myself. Instead, I sent all 3 of them a single email. A ledger, the totals, the repayment plan, and one line. I will not fund you. The plan was intentionally dry. Line items, dates, amounts, who paid, who hadn't. I included options. Pay in full within 60 days at a discount, or take a 12-month payment schedule with automatic withdrawals. No extensions, no access to my wallet until the balance hit 0, no group trips with me until then, and an apology. Boundaries in black and white. Mom replied first. We do not owe you. We're family. I sent the PDF again. Dad wrote, you're acting like a creditor. I answered, because I've been one. Leia tried for pity. I'm anxious. Money talk makes it worse. I wrote back. Then stop spending mine. Silence followed, the good kind. Work noticed. Not the trip, but me. I started hitting the gym before meetings instead of staying up late to zell someone for an Uber. I logged off at 6, leaving crises behind. My boss asked if something had changed. I said, I stopped saying yes to the wrong things. He told me, keep that up. On the 3rd Friday, Mom called in tears. Dad's card had been declined at the pharmacy. The old me would have rushed over with cash. The current me asked, where's Dad? She handed him the phone. I read the plan out loud. There's a hardship form in the email, I said. It lowers the monthly amount, but you still pay something. I will not be your emergency. He tried to use his heavy voice. I kept mine neutral. When he realized I wasn't budging, he hung up. 2 hours later, a notification popped up. First auto draft completed from Dad's account. No apology came with it. I hadn't needed one to process the payment. Lala was next. She wanted help covering her lease renewal fee. I told her to sell the designer luggage, tag me in, and open a separate savings account labeled fees. She replied with 3 long paragraphs about feeling unsupported. I sent back just one sentence. You are an adult. 2 days later, she posted the luggage for sale and paid the fee herself. Then came a forwarded text. I did it alone. My answer was, good. Mom tried another move, cousin triangulation. Out of nowhere, relatives I hadn't spoken to in years were reaching out, each carrying her version of events. I ignored the chatter and sent the same PDF to anyone asking for my side. Facts don't need decoration. Most people stopped messaging. One aunt sent a thumbs up. Another wanted the template for her grown son who was draining her. I passed it along. I won't pretend there weren't nights I felt cruel. That old reflex. Fix it, smooth it over, pay first and argue later, still flickered. But instead of checking my banking app, I went for walks. I cooked. I slept. I saw friends who'd been patient with my past cancellations. One of them said, "You seem calmer." I said, "I didn't know I was allowed to be." In month 2, Leia made her first payment. She added one line, "I hate this." I replied, "Me too. See you when it's 0. She didn't answer, but she kept paying. Mom mailed a scarf from Greece with a note. Family is messy, but love wins. I put it back in the box and into my closet. Love without respect is just debt. By month 3, Dad stalled. After the grace period, I paused the plan and sent the notice I'd warned him about. Late fee applied. Card access locked. He called, angry at first, then softer. Things are tight. I reminded him about the community clinic with cheaper meds, the one I'd already mapped for him. Told him he could resume payments next month at the reduced hardship rate if he filled out the form. He did. He hates forms, but he still did it. Meanwhile, I built new rhythms, Sunday hikes, Thursday dinners with friends who could split a bill without drama. I even made a small, slightly petty list called firsts. First trip I planned without anyone borrowing my car. First weekend without surprise, can you cover this? Texts, first month my emergency fund grew instead of drained. Petty felt good. Petty was progress. Halfway through month 4, Ila's ex, someone I'd barely spoken to, sent a text. Saw the Grease posts. Then heard your side. Thanks for not adding to the noise. 2 days later, Leia's payment came with a second line. I'm embarrassed. I answered, so was I. It passes. By month 5, Dad called without anger. No apology, but he told me he was switching to the clinic, that it wasn't as bad as he'd thought, and that he'd be on time next month. He even asked what Santorini was like without the fight layered over it. I told him the water really was as blue as the pictures. He laughed, just once, but it was real. I didn't unlock the wallet. I didn't suggest a new trip. I didn't make promises about Christmas. Instead, I set a reminder for the month the balance would hit 0. If payments stayed on track. Not as a countdown to forgiveness, but to stop discussing money with people who treat it like weather. Month 6, Mom asked to meet for coffee and start over. I agreed, with conditions. No ambushes. No, since we're here, can you? She accepted. We sat across from each other, and actually talked. She cried less, listened more. I told her this wasn't punishment. It was protection. She nodded. When the check came, we both reached. We paid our own. It felt ordinary and huge at once. The villa sent an end-of-season email with photos of sunsets I'd actually seen. I saved one, not as a trophy, but as a marker, where the tide meets the shore and keeps moving. Boundaries can be quiet like that. No speeches, no scenes, just a line where certain things no longer cross. I didn't become someone new. I became myself without the overdraft of other people's choices. The ledger was never the goal. It was the tool. The real point was this. I keep what I earn. I give when I choose. And I stop where I decide to stop. After Santorini, weeks passed without a single message. No passive-aggressive texts, no group chat guilt storms, just silence. At first it felt strange. My family had never been the silent treatment type. They preferred 40 messages until you caved. But this time? Nothing. Space to breathe. Morning coffee without the phone. Walks to work without scanning notifications. Plans I didn't have to cancel for family emergencies. A month later, Mom sent a short email. Not a lecture, just, "We're disappointed in how you acted, but we understand you've made your choice." I didn't answer. There was nothing to debate. Dad followed with a single text about family sticking together, framing it like I'd ruined the trip. I put the phone down. I knew that story by heart. What I didn't expect was my sister calling 2 weeks later. No accusations, just, "I didn't realize how much they'd been leaning on you. Guess I'm next in line." She laughed tiredly, and I knew exactly what she meant. We talked for an hour, not about money or favors, just life. She admitted she'd thought I exaggerated about Mom and Dad's demands. "Now I get it," she said quietly. For the first time in years, I felt less alone in my own family. We're not close yet, but it's a start. As for me, I started planning a smaller trip, a week in the mountains. No group invites, no shared wallets, no one asking me to cover the difference. I'd drawn my lines and for once, didn't erase them when pushed. That's the thing about boundaries. People either learn to honor them or live without crossing them. Either way, I finally have my peace and I'm not giving it back.